What's up, everyone? Today I'm joined by John Smith. As a basketball athlete competing at state in Calgary, John is a CCAA All-Canadian, two-time ACAC first-team member, holds a state single-season three-point record. But away from the court, he's also an activist for racial equity, a part-time model, right?
Yeah.
And more recently, has been in the recording studio as an artist. Thanks for coming on, bro.
Hey, man, shit, I appreciate you having me, dog.
We'll probably get into some heavier topics later, as we always do.
Absolutely.
But, bro, I wanted to hear kind of, your personal life growing up, how you became to be the John Smith that we know, the beast on the court.
Man, yeah, for sure. We can dive into that. Growing up, I grew up in a few places. I was born in Los Angeles, California, South Central, where all my family is from. I left early. My mom, who wanted something better for herself, moved up to Pullman, Washington. Actually, we moved to Moscow, Idaho first, and then we moved to Pullman, Washington, where my mom went to school. She went to university out there, Washington State University, and she graduated with her degree in biology. She's actually the first person ever in her family's history to graduate from college. And my love affair with basketball began in Pullman when I was 5 years old. I remember it was actually on my birthday. And I used to be super big into baseball, right? My brother played AAA for the Texas Rangers. He's super good at baseball. He's a prodigy. And my dad was super into baseball too. And it was my birthday, and one of the neighborhood kids, his name was Gerardo. And we used to call him BB Butterfingers. So every time we saw him, we call him BB. And he came over to my house, and this is during the time where Michael Jordan is still popping, you know what I mean? I'm a little older. So Michael Jordan's still popping. And he says, he's like, you ever played basketball? And at the time, I'd never really heard of it. And I was like, no, I never played basketball. And he grabs the ball and he takes me to the court that's right down the street from my house. And we're shooting, and BB was 2 years older than me, but he was a lot smaller than I was. So he's shooting, and I'm kind of nervous to shoot because I don't want to miss, right? I was terrified of failure. So I didn't want to miss. And then he's like, you just throw it up there and try to make it. And I threw it, I grabbed the ball, and like I still remember this like it's a slow motion. I grabbed the ball, I throw it up there, and I made my first shot. And after that, I was hooked. After that, it was it for me. And I don't know if I wouldn't have found that super early success. If I wouldn't have found that super early success, if it would have been the same for me. But when I made my first shot, I don't know what it was. It just clicked in my head, and I was like, "Yo, this is for me." Yeah.
Your sister played too, right? She was a baller before.
Both my sisters, we all got college scholarships to play basketball.
It's crazy.
My sister went to St. Martin's University, and my sister Crystal went to Southern Oregon University. And they both started playing basketball. Like Sade started playing in middle school, so they both started playing basketball after me. So I was the first one in my family to pick up the ball, and then they kind of followed suit. And I'm the youngest, because I would just always be out there with the ball. My sisters would be, little girl stuff, playing with dolls, getting in for, actually not too much little girl stuff, because my sisters were the hardest people in my neighborhood. My sister Sade was one of the toughest people in my neighborhood, and she used to beat all the boys up, which made me tough too, because she used to beat the hell out of me too, which made me tough super early. And then having to compete like every day. My cousins moved up from LA. My cousin George, when I was 4'9", he was 6'3". He was a giant, and I used to play him every day 1-on-1. And like there's sometimes where I've been dunked on so many times prior to me being 13 years old, man. Like he used to cram on me like every day, like Shaq, just destroy me. And but I would win. I win games, and it helped me have that fire to always find a way to win, even when the competition was so much more skilled and athletic than me. And I just always knew that I could do it, even at an early age. Like I always knew I could push it. I always knew I could, if I just kept working, I was going to get better. And I feel like that's one of the things that a lot of basketball players don't have, is just that ability to persevere at all times and not be scared of of that moment to, I'm fine with losing the game and it being my fault. A lot of people can't live with that. So like I was always prepared to be like, well, I work the hardest. So if I'm not taking these shots and we lose because I'm not taking these shots, then it's going to be unsettling to me. I remember kids when I was like middle school, they hated me. Oh my God, they hated me so bad on the basketball court. Because I wasn't passing the rock. I'd be out there, we'd be playing and stuff like that because they never played before. They're like, John passes the ball, and then they would miss. And I'd be like, that's why I don't pass you the ball. Right there. This is the exact reason why I don't pass you the ball. And playing on teams and stuff like that, like my coaches didn't really like my style of basketball and stuff like that. And I just kept telling myself as a kid, like, well, if I get better at my style of basketball, won't anybody be able to say anything to me? My thing was I just always wanted to be undeniable, to where my skills wherever I went could show through. And that's what ended up happening. Because I could show up at any open gym, anywhere. And they're gonna be like, that dude can hoop.
That makes sense to me, bro, because yeah, you and I both played at state. You still have some years left. But you always play with a chip on your shoulder. And I've been like that too, especially being a shorter guy in volleyball. I'm always playing with a chip on my shoulder, but I feel like you take it to the next level. You know, every game you're proving yourself.
Yeah, man. Because what I always said was, it's one of those things, man. Because I spend most of my time in the gym alone. Like is rarely a person who can continuously keep up the same work as me to be there with me. So it's like I might have a session for like an hour and a half where I actually am working with someone and we're both working together. But most of my time spent in the gym, especially if there's a shooting machine in there, I don't need anyone. Like, so I'll just be in there like working. I'll be running lines. I go to the weight room alone. Like I do most of my stuff alone without anyone. So it was like one of those things where when it was finally time to get on the court and for somebody to see me play, I'm gonna show you why. Like I'm gonna show you why every time, that why I'm different and why like I work so hard. Cause like and sometimes I would chase it too much, right? Sometimes it would be at my own detriment. Cause I'll be taking like super hard shots and I know I've worked so hard all week that my body is like low key in shambles. Like that Friday, Saturday of game day is usually when I'm the most tired because I worked so hard in practice, and in my basketball schedule in season is 6 to 8 hours a day. And so like I'm so tired on that Friday, but I know people, Michael Jordan said this, right? I know there's going to be somebody at the game who's never seen me once, and who's never going to see me again. And I want to give them, I want to give them their Michael Jordan moment. And that's what I want to do. I want to give them my John Smith moment. And it's one of my favorite things when people come up to me and they're like, yo, John, we saw you at the game. Oh my God. And I don't know them and stuff like that. Yo, that was crazy. You hit that shot. Like, that was crazy. That's one of the things I do it for, right? Because like, I could never play in a basketball game ever again in my life where somebody was there to watch it, and I would still work the same because I love it like that. But like it's like that added incentive, right? You practice. I remember being in choir as a kid, being in choir, being in band and stuff like that, and you practice all year for the concert. Like it just so happens that during basketball season, I get to have a concert every week. So it's like if you want to come to this John Smith concert, I'm gonna give you a show. I'm gonna point at the crowd. I'm gonna hit a shot. I'm gonna throw my hands in the air. We're gonna have fun, yo. Because like I battled all year for these 21 games. I battled all year for them. I worked like when you were here last, I was like 150 days into workouts. 150 days, 1 day off a week into workouts. Like right now I'm at like 220, 230. And
You're at
like
220 right now?
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah,
that's gotta
like
be the heaviest you've ever been at.
No, not my weight, of workout days. No.
I was like,
I'm
bro,
not,
you're like
I'm
my
not weighing.
size, bro.
No, bro, I'm not weighing that much. No. Bro. I don't lift the weights like that. Like, no, I'm not that big. But like, that's how much I'm into my days of consistently working out. And like this week is kind of chill for me because I know my body needs a bit of a break. Because I know I've been putting it through the ringer and like just so much stress all the time, all the jumping. Like it just needs a little bit of break before I amp it back up. But it's just it's one of those things, man. Like I always wanted to perform at a high level, and I wanted people to be able to see me play so they can understand why I went so hard. You know what I mean? Like I had before I left Lacey, Washington to come to Canada, like I had a $50,000 a year job on the table. Like I had a $50,000 a year job on the table, and I also got offered to sign at a record label. So like I had two like kind of like major things like come up, but like for me, I love basketball. Like basketball is it's one of the only things that truly makes me happy. So it was a no-brainer for me to come to Canada, and especially because like there was all those questions when I was in Lacey, especially when I was in Lacey, like cats, they never wanted to give me the throne, right? They never wanted to give me the title. There was guys who were playing collegiate basketball, guys playing overseas and stuff like that, but they would come to the gym and I'd kill them. Put them on the clock, I'm at you. Playing in tournaments, I'm dropping 40, 50 every time. And they never wanted to give me the throne. They were just like, oh, well, he can do it here, but he can't do it in college basketball. There was all that dissension. Like when I left, I heard it all. My boys would tell me, like they'd be at the gym. They'd be, yeah, bro, they don't think you're going to do anything. I took a 5-win team to the championship my first year and won. Like when the next time I went home, I remember because you remember when they put my face on the paper? I took a stack of those papers to my hood like this, bro. I made sure I brought a little extra bag on the plane. I took a stack of those papers to my hood. And to all my boys, I gave them one. I showed up at the gym. Everybody was grabbing one. They're reading it. They're like having fun with it. They're like, yo, they said you a shooting star, dog. That's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, son. Hey, I told you we was gonna be on, right? Everybody's catching pictures with me and stuff. And it was one of those moments, man, where I was like, yo, like, y'all gotta understand, like I could really do this, and I've always been able to really do this, and it only shows through the work, right? And God, man, I love basketball, bro. Like it's part of my soul. It makes me feel happy. If I don't play basketball in the day, I feel weird. If I don't get a run, be active. Like my thing during COVID too is like a lot of people didn't have a spot to like really be able to work out. Like I had a spot during this last year to be able to like work out and continue my training. So like for me, COVID was like, okay, this is an inconvenience, but at the same time, it didn't change my life because I could get in work every day. So like, as far as my happiness level and stuff, I was just as chipper as ever. Fuck, I love that. Like,
bro, yeah, it's funny that you having a job on the table and everything and leaving to come to Canada. I had the exact same thing. When I moved to Australia, I had a huge job opportunity, and someone told me, I was like, yeah, I've always wanted to play college volleyball, but I got this good job now. I might just settle down. I was like 21. They kind of snapped me out of it. Like, bro, you can't play volleyball forever. You just go and do it. Best decision I ever made. And I remember being at Earl's with you. One of the countless times we've been to Earl's and had our deep talks. But I was kind of telling you too, like, yeah, bro, I'm going to Greece to play pro. I think I'll just do it for a year, maybe 2, because I don't think my body's going to be there. You were like, oh, fuck that, man. That's all in your head. Like, I think you're a very misunderstood person because of how confident, or some might say cocky, the way you play. And that's not reflective of who you are as, I don't even know if that's fair to say, I know another side of you that a lot of people, when they see you play, think John's this cocky guy, this, all this stuff, bro. You're actually one of the most caring friends that I've had too, not to get too soft on you, man. You know what I mean?
No, it's all good, bro. I love you, man, for real. It's one of those things, man. Like, you put 5 people in a room and you have them tell them about somebody's personality. You know what I mean? And people just know me from very different experiences. So it's like, yeah, on the basketball court, if you only know me from a basketball capacity, yeah, I'm at you, man. I'm a competitor. I'm not taking no time off. If we're competing against each other, I'm trying to blow your face off, bro. Like, it's totally different. Off the court, I'm chill, man. I just like hanging out with the guys as much as everybody else. I just be like chilling. And I think people do get that truly like misconstrued, how you can put it in separate like boxes. But I am as far as like cocky and confident goes, I am a super confident person, because it wasn't, my confidence was built off the work. So because I put so much time into the work, it made me more confident. I grew up in an area and in a neighborhood where people tell you that you're not shit all the time. That's all you hear is, you're not shit. You're not as good as you think you are. You're trash at this. Like, and I heard it from coaches. I heard it from teachers who would like be saying stuff behind your back and you walk into the room. You know what I mean? I heard it from friends' parents, John this, John that, yada, yada, yada. And it was just one of those things where I was just like, well, either I could accept this and bitch up and just be like, oh, well, this really hurts my soul. I guess I am terrible, or this, and that. Or I could use it to strengthen me. So like it just became a point where, because I remember being a little kid, and like when you're a little kid, like shit people says really affects you. But it got to the point, I was like 12, 13 years old, where shit people were saying, if they weren't close to me, it just didn't really matter to me anymore. And even if they were close to me, it stopped mattering, because I knew who I was at the end of the day. And when you're super confident and you walk around and without any fear, it awakens a lot of people's demons, man. Like, and that's one of the things I realized, because a lot of people don't like me. A lot of people don't like me, and they don't even know me. They've never even been in the same room with me. They just hear stories about me, about basketball and this, or maybe how I handle the situation. Because, like, as you know, like I don't fear confrontation. Like, I have no qualms about it. I greet it like it's my friend. So it's like that, one of those things is like that it bothers people. And at the same time, like, I don't give a fuck if it bothers you. I ain't got shit to do with me. That's your own stuff with your own soul. Like, I'm just over here doing what I need to do every day, focused.
We've talked before too about how when people see you a certain way and they treat you that way long enough, sometimes you just become it. Man, in playing in Canada, everyone saw me as, well, admittedly, I have some pretty bad anger issues sometimes.
Yeah.
But, on the other end of it, it's like, people would keep calling me that, like call me like Unleash the Beast and all shit like that, right? And after a while, I was like, oh, maybe I am this beast. When I never actually played my best when I was that angry, because I'll get past the point where I've just lost control, and then I'm good for maybe one set of volleyball, and then I cool down and I crash hard. The best I play, man, is relax, calm, making jokes, stuff like that. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
even kid.
So it took me a while to realize, like, man, just because people see you this way doesn't mean that's you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's it's one of those things. I've gotten not gonna name drop her, but I've gotten really close with a girl over the more like recent months, and I love her, but that's neither here nor there. But it's just like one of those things. Like, just talking to her, she knows me. She knew me first through like a basketball capacity, and she's like, us hanging out. She's like, you're really not who everybody thinks you are. You're really not who everybody thinks you are. She's like, I realize that nobody really knows you. And I was like, yeah, but it's one of those things, like I kind of like to keep it that way as well. You know what I mean? Like I don't hang out with 10 million people. Like I kind of stick to my not necessarily circle because I'm in multiple circles, but it's just like I just kind of stick to my people who I can be different ways with. You know, because some people just like me, I'm a super anime nerd, right? So I have my super anime nerd friends who I call like weekly, who are back home, and they don't even know John Smith, the basketball player. They don't know John Smith, the athlete. You know what I mean? They just know John Smith who loves anime. So we just sit there and we talk about anime and stuff like that. And some of my friends, like I love to dance, right? So some of my friends back home, they're dancers, and that's what they know me for. And I got my hooping homies, and of course I got more hooping homies than anything. But it's just like one of those things. Like they know me as John Smith basketball capacity. They know the monster on the basketball court, like who's not scared of anything and is ready to fight you if it has to come to that. You know what I mean? Because that's what competition is. To compete at the highest level, you got to be able to never back down. And I like that, man, on everything. Like I like having the different circles and different avenues because my soul is not just one thing. It's just like, yes, am I basketball and do I need basketball? Yeah, because I was a super angry kid. Like, and I needed to find a way how to constructively be angry without hurting someone. Because I used to get in fights all the time. I used to get in trouble a lot from fighting when I was a kid, especially when I lived in Pullman. Pullman was a super racist town. Like I used to get called the N-word like every week at school. You know what I mean? My friends were like, I couldn't go to their house because John's an N. He can't come to their house. He's a nigger. He can't come to their house. Stuff like that. So it was just like I used to get in a lot of fights. And like, yeah, were the fights justified? Yeah. I was never like a nut job to where I was just like, I'm just gonna go punch a kid in the face just because I'm a dickhead. But it was like it gets you in a lot of trouble. It gets you in a lot of trouble. And especially as a kid, I don't know if I told you about this. As a kid, I got in a fight when I was 13 years old, and I had to go to juvie for 2 days, juvenile detention center. And I had to go for 2 days because I got in that fight. And I remember my mom picking me up from juvenile detention center, and she's like, "Don, you can't get in any more trouble. Like, you got to stop fighting. Like, my pops was in and out of prison my whole life, my whole childhood. And I remember having to go visit him in prison and like talk through the glass. You got to pick up that little funny phone and talk to him and stuff like that. And I remember being there and just being like, I don't want to do this. And I always was going hard with basketball. But at that time, like 13, 14 years old, I was like, look, I'm just going to double down. I'm going to double down on what it is I need to do because I can't be out here getting in trouble. Because I got too many friends in the prison system. Too many, especially back home. Bad stuff happens, people crazy.
You probably feel the same way, but for me, Calgary, when I was living there, is the safest place I've ever lived.
Shit, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man. It's like when I first came out here, man, I thought it was like Candyland out here, bro. Like I thought this was like Wizard of Oz. It was the strangest thing to me. So me and Murph, you know, Murphy, Nkongolo Murphy Bay, another all Canadian. We go to SAIT together. One of my first times on the train, me and Murph are trying to get downtown. We're trying to figure out the train system. And we catch the train downtown. A guy stops me and is like, "Hey, you're American, right?" And I was like, "Damn, am I that obvious? Like, am I sticking out? So shit, let me put my hood on. You know what I mean? Like, am I sticking out? You want to come to a party?" And I was like, "Hell yeah." You know, like a couple cute girls with him and stuff. So they're like, "Oh, you should come to a party." So I was like, "Hell yeah, I want to come to a party." Go to the party. They're just like having a great ass time. Everybody's just like chilling and stuff. And a couple of those people I still talk to this day. My first experience like going out in Canada. Like it was just the funniest thing to me, like because people in Calgary consider like the Northeast the hood.
Yeah.
Like they'll be like, "Oh yeah, the Northeast is the hood," and I was like, "Bro, y'all don't even understand."
They call it the ghetto. Like, come on, man.
Bro, I can walk down, if I can walk down every street in the Northeast and nobody is gonna press me, stop me, look at me crazy or anything, it's not the hood, B. You're good. You're good. And that's one of the coolest things too, is like being able to, like Lacey area wasn't that, like, wasn't crazy bad, but like dudes will still press you. Like dudes will still press you. I mean, they ain't gonna play with you like at the end of the day. But like being in other areas, like you walk down the block. I remember going to basketball games, walking down the block, backpack on, got my shoes. Dudes come up to you, yo, what is you doing here, dog? Where you from? My first year out of state, my first summer after we like won the championship, I go home for the summer. Super excited to go home. Go home for the summer. And I remember I was trying to get a summer job, so I go to this little job fair in Tacoma. And like I got like red shoes, red hat on. And I'm in a Crip hood. Oh God. I stepped out the car, man. I'm start changing, right? Because I'm getting like button up, some slacks on, do the job fair. I'm trying to get hired on the spot. I'm not playing no games. Dudes press me instantly. Yo, man, what you doing here with all that red on, dog? Yada yada yada. And I'm not scared of anybody. So I'm like, yo, what is it like? You know what I'm saying? What's it to you, boss? Like, why y'all running up on me like that? So I'm thinking I'm about to get jumped out here. I don't know if anybody has a gun. And I'm kind of like put my hands up a little bit, kind of looking around. And then one of the dudes recognizes me because he plays ball with me. And he goes, shit, man, that's John, bro. And I turned out, I look, and I see him. I was like, oh, what's up, dog? He's like, John. And the other dudes knew who I was too. They said, yo, homie, playing basketball in Canada? And there was like, yeah, bro, he's watching this game. And I was like, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, bro, y'all was watching my game? And then instantly, now we friends. I was just about to get my ass whooped by 6 dudes, and now instantly we friends, bro.
Yeah, man.
It'd be funny situations. Like you'll be at basketball courts back home, outdoor courts. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but like sometimes people bet on games. Like you'll go up there. Couple of my OGs would have me go play at little random courts, and people would be betting. I wouldn't even be none the wiser. Next thing you know, dudes start shooting. Now everybody's running, sprinting down the street. Your homie's like, yo, they duck off. They're about to pick you back up. You sprint, you jump in somebody's fence. Fun times. Not in Calgary though.
Not in Calgary, man. And like the term anxiety is pretty new to me. Mental health, all this stuff. But I didn't grow up around guns or nothing. In New Zealand, where I'm from anyway, in Onehunga, it's all fighting. It's all big islanders. Like a big thing is eye contact. You make eye contact for too long, you're asking for a fight. And I realized that I actually grew up around a lot of anxiety, just walking around trying not to get beaten up. It's just a loaded term. In Calgary, mainly anxiety is over, I don't know, less dangerous things. You know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at?
Oh my, bro, I most definitely know what you're getting at, bro. And anxiety in Calgary is if your account drops under $5,000. That's anxiety in Calgary, brother. And I'll be like, yo, like I remember, oh man, I remember being super, super poor and not knowing if I was going to be able to eat, and being like scared to run my hardest at basketball practice. I didn't want to pass out in front of everybody because I didn't want anybody to know that I wasn't eating. You know what I mean? Like, and just being kind of like anxious about that, or having to have one of my boys, like go to the lunch thing and steal an extra orange and being like, man, he's going to get that extra orange. Like, I'm really about to pass out right now. I just need something in my body.
Pizza, man. Pizza, or any event at state would have pizza. I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
Oh yeah, you already know, bro. We used to be the bandits. We leave with hella pizza, hella food, like, and it's just one of those things, man. Like because they grew up in a totally different way, especially like out here. Like you don't see the type of poverty out here that you see stateside. Of course, like there's like you have homeless out here, but it's not even to the numbers that it is in Seattle. Like it's crazy in Seattle. You see the amount of homeless, and like even now, back home for me, a bunch of people because of COVID, and they lost their jobs and stuff are like homeless right now. A bunch of people. There's like a whole area in Lacey that is like a homeless camp that was never there before,
And
which is crazy.
when I was in LA, that put that homelessness into perspective, because what's that area in that street in LA with all the tents?
Bro, I know you're talking about. Isn't that right?
It could be, man, but I walked through and you have one street. It's got breweries, art galleries, all that kind of thing. And then you just go one street over and it's tents, like as far as you can see. It's crazy, man. Venice Beach too. I was at you saw on my Snapchat yesterday. I was just taking my dog for a walk, and I end up there's all these cops, bro, lined up like an army. It was pretty dystopian.
Yeah.
And they had put up fences around, and they were coming to take down all the homeless encampments in the park. And I just jumped in with the protest. I wasn't protesting, just kind of recording and stuff. And it's crazy, man. I don't know where these people are gonna go.
Yeah, man. It's a really like strange thing when you really look at God, when you look at homelessness and you look at people, because in Seattle it's they're under the freeway. So they're under the freeway. There's a whole like homeless like encampment under the freeway. And the cops and stuff, they refuse to go in there because of all like the needles and everything that are down there. So it's like it's scary hours. And yeah, people one of my coaches would say that he'd be like, yeah, kids in Canada, he's like, that's why the basketball out here is a little bit different because all these kids got 3-car garages.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say that, and it really is like you. Where I'm from, you're fighting. There's only so many scholarships. So like the dude you're battling in the gym your day might be your brother, might be the dude you're working out with. There's only so many spots. Like sometimes you got to kill him to, you know what I mean? Iverson had to cross Jordan to kill him. You know, sometimes you got to go get your mans if you want that spot.
When you think of growing up, are there some dudes that come to mind when you think of they could have made it, just didn't have, just circumstantial, didn't?
Yeah, man. Oh man, there's a bunch of dudes. First dude I could think of, younger than me, he's one of Charlie's best friends. His name is Ramel Moten. Ramel Moten was probably the most skilled high school basketball player I ever seen. 6'3", 6'4", he's like 210, big. But it's really strange where I'm from, right? Because it's not the kids whose family is actually like really, really from like the hood and stuff like that who's acting crazy. It's the kids whose family is like doing good, like 2-parent household, pops and moms is making money, who end up doing like the wildest stuff. And Ramel was like one of those cases where he was just like, it was like he was bored with everything. And because he was bored, he just decided that he wanted to do nothing but wild shit. But as far as like basketball skills went, pace, timing, finishing, just seeing the game, super creative too. As far as that goes, wasn't nobody messing with Ramel. Donovan Dorsey, he went D1. He went to UW, but then I just didn't think he loved it like that. But he's special. He's like 6'8". Nate Menifee. Wow. Yeah, Nate Menifee. I saw Nate Menifee kill Isaiah Thomas and Avery Bradley at a basketball tournament. And I was on his team. And Avery Bradley, like he to put this in 2K terms, Avery Bradley had the lock defender box on his thing in 2K. Like he was a really elite defender, like played with the Celtics when like Paul Pierce and them was still there and everything like that. Like, and Avery Bradley's from Tacoma. And I watched Nate dismantle him, do whatever he wanted. I saw Nate do whatever he wanted to a lot of people. He averaged 35 in college. All-American. He was a bad man. A bad man. And like just one of those things. If he had been filmed heavily, like when he was in high school and stuff, he'd been filmed heavily, like they really put all that time and film on him, he'd have been in the league. Easily. Some cats just did too much hood situations too early. There's a dude named Lonnie from Seattle who was supposed to go to Louisville, 6'7", smooth jumper, game like silk. A problem, Tyler. Could be league. I played against a lot of league dudes, man, and like it was like one of those things where they weren't that much, like they weren't better. It was just more like an opportunity thing.
Yeah, you mentioned league guys. I've heard from you Isaiah Thomas will come out quite a lot. And is he from the area too?
Yeah, he's from Tacoma, man. So he's from right up the road from me. He's from that's where my aunt lives. Is in well, that's where she was living, is in Tac. So yeah, I'd see went to Curtis, and you see like because he holds a tournament every year, right? It's called the Zeke. And I played against him when he was younger in high school too. And IT's different though. Like he's different. He really is different. Like I've seen him make 12 threes in a row in a game, kind of cherry pick, and then like he's like 5'8", then cock the ball by his feet and dunk it. Like this is when he used to jump too. Like he used to float. Isaiah Thomas, Jamal Crawford. It looks like this strange dance. He's moving, man, and it's like, but it's some of the smoothest shit you have ever seen in your life. Like real talk, the first time I watched him, I was just like, yo, this is actually living poetry. I was like, this shit is beautiful. And I had 4 threes at the Rip the Cut tournament. So this is prior to the Zeke being big. At the Rip the Cup tournament, I had 4 threes on Nate Robinson in a row. I remember I had 30 in the game. There's a bunch of NBA players playing against us. We got our ass whooped, but I had 30. And he comes up to me after the game. Jamal Crawford walks up to me. He says, yo, my man, yo, you really got game. And I like looked around like this because I wasn't sure if he was talking to me, right? It was like kind of like my surreal moment. And I was like, man, that's Jamal Crawford. Jamal Crawford's like the king of Seattle. So Jamal, and I was like sitting there looking at him like, yo, like, damn, I got game. I remember the next week I was on 1,000. Oh my God. I was so high and hot. Like everybody's like, bro, like you really ain't playing no games. Like you ain't taking no plays off. I was like, look, man, Jamal Crawford told me I got game. I don't know what he told you motherfuckers, but Jamal Crawford told me I got game. So I must got game. Like Jamal Crawford is the only dude to score 50 with like 4 teams. 4 different teams, he scored 50. Jamal Crawford told me I got game. I got fucking game, son. I got game out the ass, son.
Oh, bro, I wanted to ask you actually. So I have never been affected when a celebrity dies. By one, and that was Kobe. And for some reason, I really felt that. How did you feel when that happened last year?
Dog. Like I give you a little back history, right? For me, Kobe's my father figure. Like I grew up without a father. So I needed something to watch, to emulate, to like structure myself behind, to like really like teach myself how to be a man. I grew up in a house full of women. And Kobe was that for me. Like I watched Kobe's interview when he came out of high school with the dope sunglasses and stuff like that. So like Kobe for me is one of the reasons why I play basketball. And like when that happened, that like truly affected me, man. Like truly, like and I don't really cry for shit. Like on everything. And I was bawling, man. Like I was bawling because I wanted to get to the point where I could meet him and shake his hand and he knew my name or knew of me. You know what I mean? Like that was like one of my goals in life, was to be able to meet Kobe and like him actually like know who I was. You know what I mean? So it was a crazy experience. I was in Edmonton at the time. Because I went with my boys because they just wanted to do like a quick trip, and I never go on vacation. So I was like, okay, let me do some like vacation type stuff. So I'm in Edmonton, and I find out we're in this Airbnb, and I just remember like I saw the post. My sister texted me. She's like, "Yo, they're saying Kobe died," and I was like, "Man, ain't no way Kobe died. Like Kobe to me is a superhero, right?" It's like Kobe can't die. Like, what are you talking about? And then they've had the reports that he passed away. And I remember just going in the bathroom, bro, and just bawling my eyes out, bro. For real. Like I was probably crying for like an hour. That affected me so much. I knew people like truly understood how much I loved Kobe. Because my ex, who is the devil, called me to make sure I was okay. 10 of my friends called me to make sure I was okay. Like, we're really like, yo, like, bro, I know what he meant to you. Are you okay? My boy Micah called me. He's like, bro, I know Kobe's like, he's like, I know you regard him like he's your pops, man. And I was like, and that's what I felt like, even though I never met him, the profound effect that he had on my life was crazy. And that's one of those things, like I could never thank him enough for what he's done for me without ever having to speak to me. And like I remember when Michael Jackson passed away, I thought motherfuckers were crazy. Like I see people just bawling about Michael Jackson, like full of tears, and I'm like looking at him, I'm like, yo, y'all goofy, bro. Like, what y'all crying about Michael Jackson for? Like y'all knew Michael Jackson, or like, yo, you know what I mean? It's like cats like my age and stuff like that. And I love Michael Jackson. I love Michael Jackson's music. So I try to learn all those dance moves my whole childhood. And it was just like one of those things, like seeing people ball for Michael Jackson. I was like, yo, this is kind of goofy. And then having that same thing happen to me. And then just being like, wow, like I get it. Except for Chris Brown. Chris Brown cried about Michael Jackson. I totally understood that. That's his dad. It's Chris Brown's dad.
We've chatted before about you. Something that I've had a tough time with is, there are stereotypes about people of color, particularly like the stereotypes about islanders, stereotypes about Black people, and you've made a point of being at those tables and doing everything that a stereotypical Black person will do, in spite of all that negativity around it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll touch down on it a little bit more. So it's one of those things where, like, because of the way I can articulate myself, people don't think, they talk to me like I'm not Black anymore. Mm-hmm. Or they like, and it's a really strange thing. Like they try to treat me as like this token, like, oh, you're Black, but at the same time, like you're not Black, like you get along with us. You know what I mean? Like on some, and it's really weird and I hate it. Mm-hmm. So I made sure I'm good at everything that's stereotypically Black. I can play ball, I can sing, I can rap, I can dance. And I did that shit on purpose. Like I did that on purpose, just so people can understand that just because you're good at stuff that is so stereotypically Black, it does not mean that you're dumb or that you're lesser or in any sort of way. Like it doesn't mean that at all. It's just, you just happen to enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like it's a strange, it's such a fun thing. It's such a funny thing to me. It's just like, it never happens to like non-BIPOC communities. You know what I mean? Like, it's like white people, like, you can just go do anything you want. Nobody's gonna say like, oh, that's, you know, okay, yeah, if you go hiking and you're in the woods every day, people are probably gonna say it's some white people shit. But other than that, like, you're pretty solid. You can just go do whatever you want to do, and nobody's tripping on you or anything like that. And because I remember seeing stuff. I remember being in my first year, like people be like dancing or like doing music and stuff, and I would see like girls, like little white girls, be like, "Oh, that's ratchet," and they don't even know. Like, first of all, you took that whole word from the Black community. Chill out. Second, you don't even know what ratchet means to call that ratchet. Those people are just over there like dancing and having fun. Like, and I would see that like regularly, like going places where there was Black people, and especially being in SAIT and being in college athletics and SAIT. The only team that's Black is the basketball team. And that's the males basketball team. So like when you go places with like other athletes and stuff, especially like off girls teams and stuff like that, they would be scared of like other Black people, not necessarily Black people, like not necessarily all Black people, but like Black girls over there dancing and just having fun and being like, oh, it's too ghetto over there and like shit like that. Like, what? But then in the same breath, still like try to take me home. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, there's no ghetto in Calgary. They're just dancing and having fun. You know what I mean? Like, so just making it, and then not even that I'm trying to make it more palatable for like the white community or something like that, just so they can understand that there's, oh, Black people aren't all this way, because I just don't care anymore enough to even try to defend it, because just like we just are who we are, and you're going to be who you are. And if you want to have a conversation where you start trying to be less trash, we can have a conversation. But other than that, I'm just not here for it. But if you say some dumb shit, I will not let you have anything.
Yeah, man, you what I think white people don't understand is that our society has been built around whiteness being normal. So we easily, in our society anyway, easily say that's a Black thing, that's an Asian thing, or you know, but when you say, oh, that's a white thing, like what do you mean? They're not used to being racialized, which is all people of color just are. Even to saying people of color really just means you're not white.
Yeah, man, like it's such a, God, it's such a strange thing that there's all these communities and only one community is accepted like as being, oh, well, this is the norm. You have to be this way or you're not up to the norm. Like even with like, and you know me, man, I love clothes. Like I'm pretty much like always dressed. Like I never want to look bummy or anything like that. But it was one of those things. I remember prior to me coming here, where I dressed a little bit more preppy. Like I have like a little polo shirt on, you know, some jeans and stuff like that. But I noticed how people treated me because of that. And they just didn't understand. I just couldn't afford the $200 loud t-shirt with the crazy J's and stuff like that. So like I wanted to rock that too. I just couldn't afford it. So I had to be cheaper with my fashion. But it was to the point I got treated differently so much that I found a way to make the bread, to get it, because I wanted people to know, like, no, I'm from my community. I'm a representation of my community. I'm not any different. I talk a little different than cats from my area because I've been to so many different areas and I lived in different places, but it wasn't that I was any different from them. We have the same, we share the same, this Blackness in America thing is, we share the same experiences. We are the same. And I always wanted like that to be known. Like, yeah, like I was friends with the nerds. I was friends with the drug dealers. I was friends with the fiends. Like I was friends with everybody. I rocked with everybody from my community. So it's such a strange situation, man. And it's just really irritating to see all the time too. Because like it's so strange on which Black people they deem socially acceptable versus who they don't. Which is also why I rock my hair the way I rock my hair.
I wanted to talk to you about Black hair. I just got a book recently called Textures, and it's like a history of Black hair. And I really didn't realize something like that could be so
Controversial for
impactful.
no
Yeah,
reason.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like even so, I saw a video as well. This kid had, let's even just talk more recently. Yeah, this kid was wrestling, and I think he had cornrows, or dreads, and they made him cut them.
Dreads. They made him
Yeah,
cut his dreads to wrestle.
yeah. The kids, you see the image of the kid getting his hair cut. He's crying. Broke my heart, man. And then reading this book, when the author, they finally started letting Black folk into the pools to swim. She was a kid, and her mom didn't know to clean her hair after, because the chlorine in the pool, the chemicals in the pool, damaged Black hair.
Yeah, man.
I've-
It's we first of all, Black people, we have a totally different way of like cleaning our hair. Don't get me wrong, like we use shampoo and stuff like that, but we don't wash our hair every day, 'cause we literally can't. It'll make your hair break, it dries your hair out. So it's like one of the things, like we have to sleep. We sleep with different like products, mostly like kind of like silk like products on our hair, on top of our hair, so our hair doesn't dry out. So it's like we go through a different process of just like maintaining our hair than everybody else does. Let alone like what it just got recently legal for Black women in the military to rock their hair naturally. You can get weave in your hair, and you can get your hair relaxed, which is putting terrible chemicals on your hair that burn your scalp and burn your hair out. So you could do those two things to look like a white woman, but you can't just rock your hair naturally or in braids, because it's not deemed socially acceptable. It's not deemed professional, which was always like the craziest thing. It was always the craziest thing to me, because like I remember even growing up, right? Because it's like you growing up in these areas, you're also affected by white society. So you start to believe that your hair isn't socially acceptable too. And like I remember brothers, like a lot of brothers I knew, didn't want to date the girl with the fro.
Mhm.
I did, like, because I loved it. Like I was like, yo, this is beautiful. But it was just like, it's one of those things, like what's deemed socially acceptable and what's not. And as far as it goes, like when we really think, bro, it's just hair.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? It shouldn't be like a huge thing. Oh yeah, you have to get it cut like this, cut like that. Like it's got to be like perfect. Like no, it just grows out of your head. Like that's which is why I rock my hair standing up like I do, because I want it to be known. Like, yeah, you could be smart, you could be great and still have Black people hair. Like, and I have one dread hangs down in the front of my head, the one bang. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I let it rock, and I love it. Like, I love my hair. But like, it's been taught through so much, especially for Black women. It's not as much for the brothers, but for Black women, that your hair is just socially unacceptable. And it's like one of the saddest things ever. Because then you see Black women like putting all of this stuff in their hair, which kills their hair. Getting your hair relaxed and all types of stuff like that. And it's just horrible. And it's actually one of the only businesses, like even in like recession time, that is always solid. Is Black women's hair care products, Black hair care products. It's always good. Always. Doesn't matter. Black people still gonna spend money to fix their hair.
Yeah, I was reading the book too, or looking at photos of all the crazy shit that they would have to straighten Black women's hair in times of slavery. And then that's kind of carried, well, it definitely has carried forward. And I think it creates some internalized racism as well. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it makes you hate yourself, man.
Mm.
It makes you hate yourself. Like, because you sit there and you look at your natural hair growing out of your head, and suddenly it's not acceptable. The natural thing your body does is not acceptable. So now you're like, oh, I have to change it. I have to change how my body naturally does stuff because it's not okay in society. Not that it's like you might, especially even in today's day and age, you might lose a job because of it. They just started passing legislation that you couldn't lose jobs because of your hair. And that was solely for Black people. Because like you could be overqualified for a position unless you show up with some dreadlocks. They didn't let one boy graduate because he had dreads. One little girl at school, they kicked her out of school for the day and told her mom had to change her hair because she had braids. And they don't know the history of braids. They don't know that how you did your hair in Africa was a symbol of your tribe and where you were from. And also it helps you, like, for farming and stuff like that. They had seeds in their hair. A lot of the enslaved people who came over to America came over here with some of their seeds in their hair, in which they planted. And like this is stuff like people don't understand. Like there's a lot of history. And like black people now rock a lot of different hairstyles, rock a lot of different braids, and you don't know your history, but it's just something that resonates with you. Like, I don't know my history exactly, where my people came from or my people's original name, but there's some stuff that when I hear it, it just resonates with my soul. And it's just natural for me, and it just feels right. And like when I first put this little dread in my hair, bro, I don't know what it was about it. That shit just felt right. I was like, this is just me. Little stuff, man, that makes you feel like at home. I never, one of the big things too is when I first came out here, people would always ask me where I was from. I'll be like, oh, I'm originally from Cali. And black people would always ask me like, no, like, where you from? Like, from back home. Like, and I'll be like, oh, back home, like, you talking about Africa? And they're like, yeah, like what country you're from? And I was like, I don't know. And they were so baffled when I would say that, because everybody here knows, and none of us know stateside. Very small percentage of black people that actually know, and that's because they've probably first or second generation came from Africa. So it's like one of those things, like they were so confused by it, and it pissed me off. Oh God, I can't lie, I was mad as shit, because I was like people never heard of like the slave trade. Like, we don't know, bro. Like, what do you think we would know? If we knew, we would have went back already. You know, so it's one of those things. But like being able to be out here and go to like some of my African brothers and sisters' houses and eat the food that they cook back home, and just being like, yo, this is dope, man. Like, for real, this is dope. I remember having Murph had matumba. Never had matumba before in my life. I had jollof rice. I had fufu. Like, I was like, yo, this is good, dog. Like, this is really good. And I'm just like sitting there, like, and I had this huge smile on my face, and everybody's looking at me like I'm a goofy, right? They're like, yo, why is son over here smiling like that? And like, to me, I'm like, yo, this is like probably what my ancestors ate. So it was like, it's a special experience for me.
There's a documentary on Netflix, a series I'm watching right now, and this black guy goes back to, the whole idea is black food, and how it actually has inspired whole recipes and everything that people don't realize in the States. It has had a huge impact on food. And the first episode, he goes to, I think he goes to Ghana, or he goes to somewhere in Africa and eats the food. And he has a few guides who take him around. You see what a real yam is. They're like, this settles the debate of a yam and sweet potato. Like, this yam was like 2 feet long. Like, this is real African food. But something about food, man. It's quite almost spiritual, or it hits something deep in you. This guy didn't know his, like you didn't know his ancestors and stuff, and being there at the end of it, he breaks down crying. And I was thinking, man, that, I go back to Tonga. I know my ancestors from Tonga. I go there, I can feel the culture, I can feel my history. And I was kind of putting myself in those shoes, being like, man, if I had never been there and going there for the first time, seeing people that look like me, even though I'm half white, seeing people that look like you and it's normal would be crazy.
It's normal in school. Like I remember going to when I was like 12, 13. One of the girls in my class, her name was Lydia Champol, and I forgot what country she was from in Africa, but she invited me to African nights. They used to have it at the university my mom was going to, so I went there, and there was nothing but Black people in there. It was my first time in a room with all Black people, and it wasn't just like up to 10, you know what I mean? It wasn't just like my cousins and stuff like that. And I remember just watching people dance and have fun, and everybody just being so excited to see me. And I'm the only one that's not dressed in like true like African like garb. Like I don't have a dashiki on or like anything like that. Or the people from other countries, I don't know what they call their fits, but like I don't have anything on. So I like pull up, and I'm just dressed in my normal attire, baggy jeans, you know what I mean, some J's on, white t-shirt, hat, and I'm in there just like chilling, and they're just taking me around and introducing me to everybody like I'm family. And that was just such a special experience for me. I'll never forget that, because I'm just a person here, which is nice. You know what I mean? I'm just a person. Nobody's looking at me crazy because this little Black boy's in the room. Is he stealing anything or anything like that? I'm just a person. Nobody's assuming the worst of me. And that was a beautiful experience for me. Like that was why I was so excited when I moved to Lacey, because Lacey has a strong like Black community. And I was just so happy to be around my people. Like I was so happy to be around my people that it was like I was kind of weird when it first happened. Like I was introducing myself to everybody, and I know my name is kind of like an icebreaker because my name's John Smith, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, John Smith, like that's not your actual name." So I was like, "Yeah, it's gonna be like a solid icebreaker." So I'm introducing myself to everybody. "Oh, I'm John Smith. I'm John Smith. I'm John Smith," and like people are kind of looking at me crazy, like, "Yo, son, this dude is weird. Like, yo, this motherfucker weird dude." And I remember my man Don Boyd. He looks at me. He says, "Yo, my nigga, don't nobody give a fuck what your name is, dog. We're here to play ball." And I was like, maybe this wasn't the best time to introduce myself. maybe this wasn't the best time. Yeah, but I loved it, man. Like it's such a powerful feeling to just be able to be around your people and get that love, because being a brother raised in America, you rarely get to see that love. You rarely get to, because everything you see on the media is, something that's like super negative towards Black people. So it's like, it's one of those things, like when you finally get to be in your community, you feel just at peace. You know what I mean? That love that you receive, the way they look out for you, is a super special thing. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. I wouldn't trade my years in Lacey for anything. Like I made lifelong friendships, and even more than that, like I made brothers. And growing up in a house full of females where I didn't actually get to see my real brothers very much, what I always wanted was a very close-knit group of friends that I could call my brothers, that I knew I was going to have for the rest of my life, who had me. So that was a super big and important thing for me.
Your sister's Sade, is she still, I've been seeing on her gram that she's been in Africa. Is she still there?
Yeah. No, she got back a couple weeks ago. Her husband is Gambian.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, her husband's Gambian, so she just got back a couple weeks ago, which is super dope. I'm happy she's back, because I like if I go home, like if I can't, my sister's my best friend, right? So it's like if I can't see her, I'll be mad as shit. I wouldn't even go home for real. Like if I was about to go home and couldn't see my sister, I'd be like my sister or my mom would be like, I thought you were coming home. I'd be like, no, Shadi's not there. Like, I'm not going home.
Bro, I'm just over this past year, bro, especially BLM being part of that, really reminded me of like, I'm becoming white. Like I'm losing my culture, you know, living in Calgary. And that in turn kind of reminded me the importance of family, which is something I kind of undervalued. That's a big reason that we want to go back to New Zealand later this year and reconnect with my roots. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. It's a special thing, man, for real. Like it's super special. Even the way you talk is different. Like, you know what I mean? Like and that's what I tell like people out here is like they'll my boy will hear me on the phone. One of my boys out hear me on the phone. He'd be like, bro, like you sound totally different. I was like, y'all don't understand. This is the voice I put on for y'all out here. I don't actually talk this way. Like this is not like actually how I talk. This is so you can understand me. Like the way I talk is totally different. Like the way I sound is different than I normally sound. Like this is just to make this shit digestible for you, so you understand me, so I don't have to go explaining myself every 2 seconds. When I'm on the phone with like my boys and stuff, like, man, we talk a totally different language, man. It's like it's English, but it just sounds different. Like when I'm with Burner, when I'm with Burner Charlie, when I'm with Jamie, when I'm with like Murph, you know what I mean? Like that's home for us out here, especially because we're all not from here. We're from different areas. Like Jamie's from Toronto, so he has that totally different way of speaking. And that shit most definitely ain't English. Yo, shout out to Toronto, man, because y'all slang is different and I love it. That it's Arab slang mixed with Jamaican slang, and it's the coolest shit ever.
It's crazy, bro. I can't understand them when I'm here. Like that accent, I cannot understand. And even the white people in Toronto can understand it or know like the slang and stuff. It's hilarious, man. And this is, I think, the most diverse place in the world, most diverse city in the world. I feel a bit safer.
Yeah, bro. Like it's different out there. I met a lot of Toronto mans out here and stuff. And when I first came out here, I was talking to a cat from Toronto, and I was like, "Yo, man, I really don't know what my man's saying. Like, he sounds like he's from the Caribbean, but at the same time, he's using a bunch of like different stuff." My boy Akeem's mom is from she's from the Virgin Islands, and she has like a crazy hard accent, and like I can understand her like a little bit, and I'll catch words and stuff like that. And she talks so fast. And then when I came out here, like I could catch more of their words, but still though, that like that little slang that they have in there and stuff, and like the little sounds that they do too, like yeah, like that weird, like that. I remember the first time I heard some cats do that, I was like, yo, bro. I really looked at them. I was like, yo, bro, what the fuck are you talking about, dog? Yeah, hey, what? Like what? I was like, yo, y'all Canada cats is goofy, son. Like I would really be like, y'all some goofies, bro. Like, and even the slang like I use back home, like one of the words we say a lot, like when a party or a dance is about to happen, we'll be like, oh, we getting active tonight, right? Oh, it's active, like, oh, we on it. And like people look at me crazy, like, active? Like, what do you mean? When I was in high school, we used to say crucial with everything. We'd be like, yo, is she cute? We'd be like, yo, bro, she's hella crucial. Super crucial. And my boy, we'd all be like, and we all stop and look at each other, shake our heads, and be like, crucial. Like little stuff like that, you know, like every area has their way of like talking and everything like that. When you come to another area, it's just so cool to hear what they've done with the language. And I love that. That's one of my favorite things about being out here is even though I'm not in Toronto, it's Toronto tonight. Because like one of my boys' bars, he always puts me on like some new Toronto slang. So the newest one he put me on was Soon Come.
Soon come.
Yeah, soon come. Like you'll be talking to somebody, they'll be like, oh yeah, bro, you got in the works, yeah, you doing something? Yeah, soon come. Yeah, that joint's hard, bro. It's so fire. So when I talk to them, when I go back home now, I drop hella Toronto slang in there, and then my boys will be like, "Yo, bro, that sound hard for real," and I'll be like, "Yeah, man, you know." I tell them I'm different now. You know what I'm saying? I'm cultured. I've been everywhere. Oh man, Canada's different, man. I actually really like Canada though, except for this trash ass shit that they do to indigenous people out here. I can't fuck with that.
Bro, the crazy thing is that, you know, in indigenous cultures, everything is passed down orally. And more recently, with the residential schools, they've been uncovering these bodies that these people have been talking about, have been saying that this is happening for since the residential schools were implemented. But to put it into numbers, man, I can't even fathom these numbers that are coming out. I can't even put it, I can't visualize it or anything. You know what I mean? It's so hard.
All children,
Mm-hmm.
all generations of children destroyed, aunts, uncles, nephews, kids, like just destroyed. It's the craziest thing to me. It's absolutely insane. And they said if Canada lowered their flag for every day that an indigenous child had been killed, they would have their flag lowered for 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow. And that's just the numbers that they have already. They have literally they were just out back burying children at the school because, all right, so like how I think about whiteness, right, is we've actually had this conversation before. Whiteness to me is the plague. First of all, because whiteness isn't a culture at all. The only reason why blackness is a culture is because when your whole history was stolen from you, now you don't know exactly where you're from. Now black is a culture. So like whiteness isn't a culture. Like you can have Irish culture, English culture, yes, for sure, but whiteness isn't a culture. And like whiteness as a whole has just been destroying, colonizing, destroying, and then just profiting off the backs of other cultures and deeming that they made it. So it's like what I look at it as is just like the plague, and it's just locust eating and destroying everything in its wake, and then not understanding even how to blend in with the ecosystem. And so shit is just even more fucked up. It's God, it's fucking terrible, man. It's terrible to see. It's terrible to watch. Like, my teammate's mom was in residential schools, and like she found out recently. I think it was in the past 10 years that she found out that she was native. She was indigenous. They told her she was Mexican. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like she found out recently. Like I don't think she's ever met her actual parents. Like that's crazy, just because somebody wanted to steal you to make you Christian and make you acceptable to be a cog in the wheel of white society. What the thing I find so disgusting and trash about this place is how indigenous people are treated out here, and how people look at them like they're the plague. People look at them on the streets and they see them and they're like, oh, I've heard it so many times, oh, they're just drunk, they're this, they're that. And like, I don't think people understand what they've gone through, the traumatic events that they have gone through. Their whole culture was suddenly destroyed. They have been given a little bit of money in the past like 20 to 30 years, a little bit of money, a little bit of land, and then the money thrown at them was just like, okay, well, we're sorry we fucked up. Let's give you a half-ass apology. So we're sorry we did this, but let's just throw a little money at you, and then let's just expect you to be okay. There's never a true level of concern that goes after these little punk ass apologies that governments deem. There's never any concern after for what they've actually done. Just throwing money at a situation, yes, should indigenous people get crazy amounts of money, more so than they have right now. They should be getting fucking crazy amounts of money. We're on their land. But it's just it's one of those things, like, you also have to go in and help build from what you have just destroyed. And you threw just money at a situation, and half these people had so many of their family members and stuff die, and now it's just like, oh, we'll be okay. When half the people in Canada are dealing with anxiety over having less than $5,000 in their bank account, and they're freaking out about that, but then they can't understand that maybe these people aren't okay for some reason. Like, maybe there's more going into this than just, oh, well, they're drunk and they're homeless on the street. Like, it's just the amount of shit that, like, goes into, like, people's people not having concern for other human beings is fucking baffling to me, especially other human beings that have been stolen from their whole life, and their past generations have been stolen from. And, like, if you really look at how many indigenous people were here prior to what it is now, it's like they're going extinct. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing stateside. Like, natives showed people how to hunt on this land, how to farm this land, and what they got back for it was smallpox and residential schools and straight genocide. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, and that's why when we had this the talks with UBIAA about stuff, I always start with the history lesson. Mm-hmm. Because people, if you never understood the history of it, you can never truly understand what the fuck is going on. And so people just sit there, people are simple. They have their day-to-day problems, and everybody has their day-to-day struggles, which I totally understand. But burying your head in the sand about a situation, about any situation, can only be foolish and hurtful in the long run, especially to people that you're making flash judgments about. Yeah, man, fuck Canadian government. Them niggas is trash too.
Yeah, the history is really important. You've told me, I don't know how many history lessons, John Smith. But without that, man, you really can't conceptualize where we're at. And I think it's hard because of the language we use, when we say whiteness or we say white people, it's really hard to conceptualize that's an idea. We're not talking about, this guy or this guy, this white guy, you know what I mean? It's an idea. It's a collection of events and ideas and policies that happened that have affected, more than anything, people of color.
Yeah, man. And yeah, that's really what people don't understand, because yeah, they truly do think that you're just talking about a random white individual talking mm-hmm. on the street. Like, bro, I don't know this fucking man, but I know what he benefits off of. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know these individuals enough to hate you. Mm-hmm. But I hate whiteness and systemic racism mm-hmm. and fucking oppression, because it's trash. Like, when people think like, oh yeah, because I remember I post a lot of stuff of what's going on with racism and stuff like that. People, one of my guys that used to play basketball, we call him Bird. He's like, oh, John, you just hate white people. And I was like, and how many times have I said this to you? I was like, Bird, if I hated white people, this would actually make sense, though. Logically, it would make sense. For you to hate a black person, or to hate a Latin person, or to hate an indigenous person, or any person of color literally does not make sense. You benefit off of us. We don't benefit from you.
Mhm.
We're held back. It has nothing to do with like my pops used to say that to me when I was a kid during our few random instances of actually talking. He'd be like, no, John, I hate white people. But I understand that because part of his time was spent in the South, like during Jim Crow. His aunt got raped by a white Klan member, and then they killed him and moved to California. That logically makes sense. You know what I mean? Like when Palestinians say they hate Israelis, that fucking makes sense, boss.
Mhm.
Logically makes sense. Like it's just one of those things, but people can't fathom. They can't fathom that because they don't know the history behind it. Because they only think of the now. Why would you hate me now? What have I done to you now? What have you done to? What is not you per se, but what you benefit off of done to everyone for centuries? And now, multiply that by infinity, times it by oblivion, and maybe you'll understand a tenth of what I'm actually speaking about.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that story, and you verbatim were like, I can understand how a black person can say, I hate white people. I can't understand how a white person can say, I hate black people. What have we done to you? And blew my mind, man. And again, it's, you say white people, you say black people. It's kind of weird to conceptualize a people. You know what I mean? But really, what have they done to you? Nothing. You brought them here into someone else's home, and you know, and then just implored hate upon them. One one idea that I got from Ibram X. Kendi, I read his book. It's called Stamp from the Beginning. Kind of changed my whole perspective on systemic racism. And he kind of said the biggest misconception, I'm paraphrasing too, is that that these policies were made out of hate. It's actually the other way around. So an example is slavery. The Atlantic slave trade wasn't created because of hate per se. They classified black people into the lowest, made up these, first of all, created the idea of race, classified them into the bottom tier because slavery was going out of fashion. Before that, all types were being enslaved. And when people started questioning the morality of that, and I know you know all of this, but they said, no, look, science shows there's tiers, and justified the slave trade because it was profitable, not because they said, I hate black people. They were like, we can make some profit. We need to create this. So it's actually the other way around. It's created out of self-interest.
Yeah, it's good. Capitalism's evil as shit, bro.
Mm.
Capitalism is evil as shit. At any time to make a profit, you're going to deem something necessary. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things. Like when you really look at companies and stuff like that, if you gave them a test to study like their emotional capacity, they would all be sociopaths.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I remember reading this and like looking at the study, and like they would all be sociopaths. Everything is for the benefit. So they will go with these faux science studies and shit like that to make you lesser and shit like that. And then everybody will fucking believe it because it's popular at the time. And who's going to question it? Like who's actually going to do the critical thinking to question it? Especially if they already deemed you at the bottom tier. So for Black scientists during that time to come up and been like, we're not at the bottom tier, we're not dumber by any means or anything like that, they'd be like, well, that's just a dumb Black scientist.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it's crazy to think about too, because like how slavery started, how slavery in North America started was it wasn't actually slavery, it was indentured servitude, and that's what you would pay for. That's how you would pay to get across to America. Some of the first slaves, like modern day, were the Irish.
Mhm.
But if they ran away, they were also white, so they could blend in. Brothers and sisters, we never had the option of blending in. Can't escape that easy. We look too different. And that's always been like one of the things I always had with some of my friends who are like super light skinned too. Because I'll be like, look, you have this option of blending in, and then you go over there and you act like them, and then you come over here and you act like us. Like we don't have that option. And so like when you go over there and say some stuff, they'll be like, oh, he's Black, and they'll take that as law. But really you're kind of like a trick of light. And now you're trying to move through these strange social circles, and you're confused, and you're also confusing us. So now you're making us not like you because we know what you're saying about us over there. Yeah, it's different.
There's a book on that I read. It's a fiction though. It's two twins, and they light skin and enough to pass as white, and one of them goes and actually pretends or lives a white life, and the other one stays in her hometown, and it puts that in perspective a little.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's I have some friends, like one of my boys, Keyshawn, man. If you didn't, he's not just like white, he's something, but you can't really tell.
Mm-hmm.
But I never had to question Keyshawn ever. He knew who the fuck he was. Never had to question him. Always knew what he was on. He's with us. He's with us. Protects you. But like Keyshawn, one of my favorite people in the world. Love the shit out of Keyshawn. Like, and he's one of the reasons I am in what I'm in. I'm not gonna say it, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my brother. My brother, man. My fucking brother. And he grew up along like the same means as me. Dad was on some nut shit. Stayed with his mom, took care of his whole family. And I told you stories about Keyshawn graduating from college all the while supporting his mom, paying rent and moving her out of the city that we were all in. Taking care of his little brother. His sister won America's Next Top Model, and he takes care of all of them. And all he does is protect his family. That shit is fucking beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Real talk, and that's my brother for life, man. One of those things, like one of those things. It's just great, bro. It really is great to see. Oh,
All right, man. We're like 2 hours in. I'm not shit, so I don't know if people are gonna listen longer than that. But
what you talking about? You the shit, dog.
One day. Nah, I appreciate you coming on, man. I could chat to you forever.
Yeah, you already know, man. It's all love.
Do you want to plug anything?
Yeah, why not? Look out for some of my new music coming out. I go by, if you know me, you know I go by Almighty. So some of my new stuff should be coming out soon. Basketball season coming up, so most definitely watch them say basketball, because we're gonna win another one, because that's what we do, baby. Shout out to my sister Sade. Shout out to my mom, Salome Bates, my sister Crystal, brother Julius. Stay Black, stay blessed.
All right, brother. Love you, man.
Love you too, man.